All righty, what is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the channel for another weekly update. Hope everybody is having a lovely weekend. And with that being said, let's dive in to the TA and prepare for the following week. All right, guys. So on Friday, we did end up popping up into the close, into the end of the day here, and we closed near the highs. Now, I will just point to the weekly charts, guys. We got these back to back to back to back lower wicks. We could tell buyers want to, step in here. But now I will just point out that this was the first weekly candle that did not take out the previous candle's low in like what, 4 weeks here? That is something that is significant. We knew it was only a matter of time until we started snapping back to, get that bounce that is likely to be a dead cat bounce. But, people were getting bearish, during this whole mess down here, when in reality, even if you were going to go lower, you're going to slightly undercut this low. And at that point, you're putting in a major bottom. You're going to have your bullish divergence here on the daily RSI. It's going to lead to a larger bounce. That was the bear case. All right. Well, the short-term bear case. And the other bear case, people want to talk about a bear market. They want to talk about, the trend is changing. Well, what happens in a trend? You get a lower low and a lower high, or you get a higher low and a higher high. Well, people don't want to be patient enough to wait for that lower high to be ushered in. And that is your next shorting opportunity. It is not to be shorting the hole down here. It is to be shorting the pop. Now, we don't know how far this pop is going to go. Is it just going to get into the zone and then fail? Is it going to get into the golden pocket and fail? We have absolutely no idea. We'll be taking it as we go. But what is very clear here is we have reversal setups across the board here. I do just want to highlight, Tesla, I'd say, is, something that represents peak fear over here in the market. And yeah, it's even starting to usher in this bottomy look to it over here on the weekly time frame. You got a dragonfly. It's a, hammer, dragonfly doji / hammer, whatever you want to really look at this as. They're both bullish candlesticks. They both are reversal candlesticks that show, in a downtrend that buyers are starting to step in. And we now have two of those back to back. I think that is significant. It's also happening in the golden pocket here. And I do think we are likely to at least come back down or back up here to 271. That's going to be, around this 200 DMA here, that red line. That is like around 285. So we're talking 271 to 299.29. That's like kind of the minimum for this bounce that we're about to get, that I am personally looking for. But coming back over to Qs, we're just going to go through the levels pretty quick here. We're going to try and make this, a shorter video. Don't want to take up too much of our time here, considering it's Sunday and, we all have, families or loved ones or, stuff you want to prepare for the coming week, because of course we're all busy throughout the week. So you got to get your stuff done over the weekend. All right, so let's go through it. We're going to come over here to the hourly time frame. Support is going to be 479.74, 476.28, 472.41, and then 467.01. I don't think we're going to come straight back down there. But again, if we do take out this low, it's probably going to be a marginal low. And then we would, be putting a bullish divergence on all of the major indices, as well as, most of the Mag 7 stocks. Most of them already have the bullish divergence going on there, but we're just going to have further divergences building up. The important part is they would be on the indices here. On the upside resistance, you have 385.84, 494.49, 503.52, and then we have the 0.618 fib around 512.50. All right. The big spot here is going to be right here at this green circle that I'm going to put on the chart, right there around 494.49. That's where you have the 21 EMA over there on the daily time frame. Then you have the 200 daily moving average right there as well. If you can get above there, we watch 503.52, but more importantly, we watch this spot right here around 512.50, which is the 0.618 fib. All right, so that's QQQ. Over here on SPY, guys, we have a very similar look. So let's just go over the levels over here. On the upside, as our resistance, we're closing right on that 564.02 level. Above there, 566.68, 569.71, 572.25. And that's going to, just like QQ, 494 level, that's right around our 200 daily moving average. Above there, 577.39, and then 580.91. On the downside is support, 562. Of course, we're right on that 564.02 level. All right, under there, 562, 559.11. and then 554.87, you lose that, you're coming down to new low. 549.15 is being tested. Come back over to the daily time frame, guys. You have a lot of congestion going on here. All right, and if this is going to be moved to the upside and you can get past right here, then we are messing with this area right here, this whole area between 580.91 and 590. We don't know exactly where sellers are going to step in, but they're likely to step in somewhere between 590 and 580 if you can get above the 200 daily moving average right here around 573. That's SPY. Coming over here to IWM, I'm just going to point out, still got that. You had that hammer, dragonfly doji, pin bar candlestick, whatever you want to call it. They kind of all represent the same exact psychology. So I don't really think it matters too much. But you got buyers stepping in right here at the break and retest, long-term break and retest, 2 to 3 year base breakout. Now you're retesting that. Daily RSI was oversold. And yeah, you started getting your buyers in that zone. If you can take out 208.84, that's when this party gets moving, probably back up to 200 DMA up here. You got 213.97 and then 217.37, which aligns with that 200 daily moving average. Support is going to be 201.99, 199.34, 196.70. Coming over here to DIA, very similar look. All right, it doesn't look like it wants to keep rejecting the 200 DMA. It looks like it wants to get over there. And if you can get over 423.85, that is when you're probably going to get a straight shot up to 430. That's where you have the weekly moving average over here. But as we can see after all of that red, we are starting to see buyers step in here for the second week in a row. And big level here, 423.85. That's where you broke down from. That's going to be around that 21 EMA. Get above there, you get some snapback action up to 430. All right, now we'll just look at VIX over here, guys. Since you lost the 21 over here, that is what we were paying attention to. 2204 specifically was the level we were paying attention to. Since you lost that, you had a retest of it over here, you failed. You had a retest over here, it failed. You had a retest on Friday, it failed. Now you can see on the weekly chart, we got a big, fat, ugly red bar here. And, from this point, either we're going to continue falling over here and getting, an actual rally over there in the indices that, takes flight, like, impulsive move, or we will be consolidating over here for a few weeks. I don't think volatility is going to spike for the next 2 to 3 weeks, though. I think we're going to have to be patient on that. We probably do have 1 to 2 weeks of, probably easier price action before volatility starts picking back up, in my personal opinion. All right, now as far as the, not the indices, the Mag 7 stocks goes, guys, they're all looking bullish. There's nothing we're going to really talk about that has changed over here. I'll just point out how they were looking this week. Over here on Tesla, guys, I already pointed out back-to-back bullish weekly candlesticks here in the golden pocket. You're very likely going to be getting bought up around here. You have had this base building out for 1 to 2 weeks now, and it is likely about to start breaking up. Above 251.84 was the level that I was paying attention to for that big snapback action. Get above there, we're talking 261.84, and then more importantly, 271. That's where your 21 is. Get above there. You have the 200 daily moving average here at 284, 285, and above there, 299.29. That big 300 psychological level is going to be up there. That's going to be a big spot. All right, coming over to Meta, I think this is probably going to be one of the better performers here. It doesn't want to give us the 200 DMA test. Honestly, with how things closed out the week, I don't think we're going to get that. We got a nice hammer candlestick, bullish candlestick coming off of the 200 down here. Ever so slight, missed it by like 3 freaking points. All right, but you got the false breakout over there on Thursday from that trend line, that downtrend right there, and then you got a daily close above on increasing volume the following day. Coming down here, the hourly time frame, we're just gonna go over the levels here. 598 is your resistance. If you can pop above there, probably gonna reach back up here that high 608.86. Get above there, like you come back up here, you're probably gonna break it. All right, so 608.86 and then 613.10. Break 613.10, we're talking 620.50, and then 632.10 to 638.40. That's the zone we're ultimately paying attention to for this bounce. I'm saying anywhere between 640 and 675 is on the table here. We don't know exactly where it's going to reject, but first area of resistance, we're going to call it right here. All right, second area, if you can get above up here, it's between these two levels, 659.50 and 675.25. All right, so that's Meta, guys. We're really liking it. Your support on pullbacks. What are we watching? You don't want to give up right here. 586.87. That's not a level you want to be giving up. You give that up. All right, you broke down. You reclaimed it over here. You can see these two candles. They got bought up off of it. If you come back here, I have to assume you're going to take out this low. So you don't want to break through 480, 586.87, but your support that you want to be buying for the chances of it getting bought up here would be 592.32. Underneath there opens the door 586.87. That's when, you know, we can come back down to these lows, 574.66, and potentially touch that 200 DMA that we missed by, you know, literally points. Couldn't believe it. All right, but that's meta, and you can see on the weekly chart, buyers are stepping in right off that 200 here, hammer candlestick. Like, you know, it's where the confluence is over there on the chart. And yeah, it's probably going to bring about the bigger bounce. Microsoft over here is looking like a monster, right? You know, I know things take time, guys, but you have a lot of people short on the whole. And I'm telling you, I know for a fact, there are people who don't know much about the market that I talk to in my everyday, you know, everyday life. And yeah, okay. So, I mean, there's one relatively stuck up person that, you know, I don't like, but yeah, he seems to think that the market is about to crash, and you try and show him charts, you know, of reason over here. You know, I'm not going to tell anybody to do what to do with their money or anything like that. But if you start going on and on about a crash, and I gotta, you know, be in the same room with you, I'm probably gonna start showing you charts, and I'm probably gonna be like, yo, that's probably not about to happen. Please don't sit there short in the hole. You know, I'll just be a friendly human being there. But yeah, I mean, you got people just thinking they know that the market's about to crash. Guys, I will just give you a little thing about my a little, you know, golden tidbit here about, you know, my 5 years of trading this market at this point. Guess what? The market doesn't crash when everybody thinks about a crash. It's not going to keep going down when everybody thinks the market's about to go down. That's why I'm saying, if you're going to get bearish, just wait to short the pop. You're about to get a face ripper rally that you can then short the pop on if you're still bearish. But, you know, to usher in a weekly downtrend, you know, a bear market per se, you're going to get a lower high. You know, on some charts, you could very easily just tell you're probably going to test the short-term weekly moving average, the 21 to 9. Over here on Microsoft, that's 480 up to 405.57, and then you would go further down. But anybody who's trying to short the hole here, I'm telling you, you know, I'm giving you plenty of, you know, data here, plenty of information that you don't have to listen to me. You could just look at what I'm showing you. Just use your own two eyeballs. You're very likely not going to be taking out the low here. You're very likely going to be, you know, having that snapback action, that, you know, face ripper rally kind of move that, you know, probably is going to catch a lot of people off sides. And then we'll see what happens after that. But anybody who's trying to short the hole, you know, no mercy, okay? Because Henry over here, Henry boy, it's just trying to show you the data that does not suggest that's going to be the case. And if you want to be a safe bear, you're going to wait for that pop, okay? So there's that. But, you know, I got two people texting me the last week asking me how they can go about playing puts. I'm like, dude, you don't know about the market. Stop trying to, you're trying to short a hole. Just don't do it. Don't cause yourself that pain. You clearly don't know about the market if you got to ask me how to even play a put. And then I also know you're doing it at the worst spot. You had a whole month and a half to play puts. It's, you know, you haven't gotten a chance to play calls in a while here, you know, on a sustained bounce. You got a 2-day bounce over here. You got a base build out over here. But now it is about a flip. All right. So Microsoft, guys, above 391.79. You got 394.25 and then 480 above there. All right. And then 5057. And the annoying guy that seems to think he knows how to, you know, read these charts and just always wants to talk about them. Just like, I don't even want to talk charts with you. Yeah, that's a coworker that I got to put up with. It is what it is. You know, but that's what I'm saying. I got these indicators in my life, and you guys probably all got them in your life. You know, when people I know for a fact don't know much about the market are then trying to ask me stuff about the market or think, you know, they know the market's about to crash. I'm telling you, it's not about a crash. They're not going to let people make a bunch of money on it like that. Or if anything, they're about to take the money and then after the fact, give them what they want. And then it's, you know, that's max pain. All right, so that's Microsoft right there. Coming over here to Apple, guys. Big day over here on Friday. You engulfed the last 4 days of price action. You just engulfed in one one bar, one candlestick over here. Over here in the weekly time frame, you can see this is the first green week on our decline over here after our nasty fall last week. But we are now starting to see buyers step in over here. Oh, what do you know? Daily RSIs were oversold and the market didn't want to keep falling. Oh, that's craziness. It's almost like everything gets oversold. It's pretty nuts that the market doesn't want to keep selling. Why? Because everything has been selling for quite some time and everything is now showing the same exact oversold conditions. That's just how the market works. Get above 219.38. That is our big level there. We've been watching that level. Get above there. You probably start to move back to the 200 over here around 228. That's Apple. Amazon over here, guys, big level remains 201.20. If you can get above there, 209.98 and the 215.90. But this is all just chop. You're down here. I'll show you the hourly time frame. We go over levels. Get above 198.57. We're talking 201.20. On the downside, you have 195.75, 193.04, and then 190.88. Don't want to come back down here. You want to get above here. Come over to Google. What do you have? Bullish divergences sitting here on the daily RSI. You clearly see your downtrend right there. If you can break above 160.46 and then ultimately 170.45, that's when I think a larger bounce starts up. You are going to above 170.45, get to 176.90, and then potentially 183.79 up here, and then maybe 190. All right, but baby steps. You got this, compression going on here. You very clearly could see this, consolidation is getting pretty tight down here. Maybe you got a potential falling wedge pattern going on. But you want to start seeing that move above 170.45. That's where your 21's going to be sitting. You'll be above the 9, which you have gotten rejected at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times throughout this whole move. Yeah, that's going to be a big spot over there. But the important part, you do have these daily bullish divergences going on here. And guys, we do know, I know sometimes the market just likes to snap back. But when it doesn't, and it takes the time putting into the divergences, that's when you typically get your larger moves. All right. And you could stay down here. Okay. You can stay, oversold for quite some time, but you typically will get these bounces. And we just have not even gotten any sort of bounces yet. So that's probably what's coming next week. NVIDIA. All right. Over here, guys, I'm just going to highlight the weekly time frame. The weekly chart does not look all that bad to me. But I will say, I would have liked a nicer lower wick here. But, you can see here on the daily chart, this is important what's going on here. You came up to the 21. This is why when you're testing these short-term moving averages, whether it's on the 15-minute, the 1-hour time frame, or the daily time frame, or the weekly, do not expect you just to move right through it. I always, factor it into my analysis. You're typically not going to move right through them. And even if you do, you come back to retest them most of the time. And this is on most tickers we follow. So that is the thing that happens. And that's what's going on over here on the video. You reclaim this important 113.22 to 115.14 zone over here, and you hit it with the break and retest, and you're just kind of, dancing in between the short-term moving averages in that zone over here, okay? But it is a bullish SR flip, however you want to call it. It is, bullish what we're seeing over here. You found sellers, you reclaimed where they shoved you down, and you were flipping it into support. If you can snap above the 21 here, all right, get 2 daily closes, you're going to end up getting up here. But, more importantly here, guys, if you can start getting above 120.45, that's where we got the sellers the past few days sitting at. Get above 120.45, you're probably going to move up to 122.89. And at that point, you're probably not going to fail at this time. Get above there, 127.67 income, and that's around that 200. All right. As far as SMH goes, guys, get above 230.80. You're going to probably see this move 237, 240. All right, and then INTC, guys, we did start, this is the spot we mentioned in the previous video. That's where you're paying attention to, is showing the strength over here out of the chips, and honestly, out of the overall market, you were showing a lot of strength on INTC over here. This is where we're going to look for buyers to defend. You had the 200 and the short-term moving average, as well as that key 23.34 spot. Above here, you get 25.61, 26.43. Get above 26.43, 2 daily closes. This thing is actually starting to reverse, in my opinion. AVCO over here, guys. Same look as a lot of these tickers. You're just basing out here. Snap above 199.98. Larger move starts up to 211.11 and then 219.51. So you really got to concern yourself with. But you can see where buyers are defending over here for a few weeks now. You got the 200, got the break and retest, got the golden pocket test. Daily RSI hit oversold territory, as well as our spots, been dancing around here. And you really haven't gotten that bounce. You've just been building out this base. And if you can break above here, that base is going to have that breakout. All right. SMCI catching a bit on Friday over here. I'm just going to point out weekly chart don't look all that bad. It looks like, it's getting that rounded bottom action over here. If it could snap above 44.99, I think you're going to see a, move up to 50.61. That is really the only thing I'd be concerned myself with this chart over here. This move right here. Right here. This is, really the only safe move, clean price action move that I'm going to point to on SMCI. All right, TSM guys, you got this downtrend. Snap above 178.05. Give it a pop above there. Probably you're going to test this 184.74 to 187.67 zone. That's going to be around the 200 sitting up here. That's all you got to concern yourself with this chart. You got the, bullish divergence built out over here at the bottom off the 0.618 fib from the whole move up. And yeah, you're probably going to get that move into this area right here. All right, so that's TSM over there, guys. Now, Bitcoin, I'm just going to say, you still watch that 90.7K level right there. If you can't get above there, I don't think we're going to be seeing too much bullish action over here on the Bitcoin stocks. But I will point out MSTR, this is the one with strength. You're flipping, short-term moving average over here. You're finding, it's kind of getting that compression kind of look to it. Fresh breakout from the falling wedge. Broke out from that upper trend line, resistance at this key, supply zone 322.30 down to 303.80. All right, this is the compression. If you snap above 322.30, that's when a bigger move can start up. You can see 356.11, then we have 404.42 above there. Come over to coin. Now, this is one that hasn't moved at all. So if something's going to play catch up now, all right, it's going to be coin over here. So Bitcoin starts moving and coin pops above 199.20. It's probably going to move up to 222.85 and then potentially test the 200 over here, which is in between 222.85 and 246.37. That's where we broke down from. All right. So now we're just going to run through some quick trade ideas that I'm paying attention to. All right. Just for you guys over here, PLTR. This is one I've been watching for a few weeks now. This was, honestly looking, one of the most appealing charts to me on this decline, especially after you put in this, ushered in that candlestick not last week, but the week before that, off the 21 EMA there, you put in a hammer, followed by another hammer, guys, and you're getting the breakout that we were paying attention to right into the end of the week. This is looking phenomenal after a 40% decline here. I think you're going to get a reversion to the mean trade at least. All right, not saying to push up to new highs, but I think we're going to test this 95.80 to 99.32 zone right here. And above there, probably going to test 108.72. All right, but break above 90.48 brings 95.80 to 99.32. Above there brings 106 to 108.72. Downside support is 84.80. SoFi, weekly chart. Really, really like the weekly chart over here. It's looking actually phenomenal. I think this thing is about to start resuming that uptrend, but you got to get above here. You got to get above like 14. I mean, honestly, you got to get above this candlestick, which the high going to be 1491. I was talking to someone on Twitter. Shameless plug, guys. Go check out the Twitter. The link will be down below. But you can, get some charts. Some of the charts I'm about to show you, I already posted over there on Twitter before they actually had their moves. All right. I mean, you got over here on Uber. Netflix looking pretty good. Roblox, this was, a winner over there on Friday. Out of, just showing relative strength against everyone. We'll go over that chart next. But, SoFi probably going to at least come into that 1360 to 1442 spot. This area right here is around the short-term weekly moving averages. All right, so I do think you're about to, get up there, probably test the golden pocket up there, 1470. And then next one we're going to look at is Roblox. Roblox just, had the downtrend break there, got above the short-term moving averages. I think this thing's about to start moving. 63.58 next, and then 67.17. I think you're going to get back up to the 69.77 to 73.71 zone. This is, very nice looking chart that I'm paying attention to over here. All right, but we got a lot of them right now. So no rush on any of these. Just realize we have a lot. I mean, honestly, when you're trading the market, I guess, it is a rush, but at the same time, everything kind of sets up together so you can take your pick, right? And that's what I like to do with all these trade ideas. You have a bunch of them going into the following week that you can pay attention to your favorite ones. Just pick and choose them. Uber over here, guys, I gave it to you before the breakout. All right, it was in the perfect spot. Golden pocket test, break and retest. All right, and then I'll also point out short-term moving average over here on the weekly test. But this thing looks like it's about to pop up the highs. I'm targeting 81.25 and then probably a move up to 87 after that is incoming. But a upside resistance, 76.40, 77.74. Get above there, 81.25. All right, Netflix is one I was saying is standing out compared to others over here. Weekly charts looking good over there. But the daily is where the magic is right over here. You clearly see this level to break above 964.38. If you do, you're probably going to see the straight move up to 999, 1000. All right. And the last one I'm going to point out is Hood. This thing is looking pretty phenomenal over here. All right. I think next stop is probably going to be 48.08. And if you can get above there, 52.65 is incoming. You can see on the daily time frame, this level is giving you a bunch of reactions. You're right up against the 21 here. Get above here. It opens up the next level, 48.08. Get above there. It unlocks this next area, which is 52.65 up to 54.85, which is your golden pocket. All right, guys. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I will catch y'all in the next one. Peace.